Thank you very much, Dr. Talha, Dr. Zulfan. Can you hear me well?
Yes. Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's a pleasure to be invited in such a meeting or सबसे impressive बात ये है that there are very few institutions who are really interested in advanced neurosurgical technologies like EDS. And knowing Dr. Asif and the neurology team there, I'm very, very happy to know that you're really into teaching and training of advanced neurosurgical technologies. There are a few things I noticed in the meeting regarding Dr. Sidra's and Dr. Talha's presentations. First of all, let me comment on those very nice, thorough, and brief presentations, both of you. Dr. Sidra, you mentioned that DBS was considered at the end of the era. Before DBS, you were trying all the medications, you were trying all the therapies, and at the end was the patient who were not responding to medical treatment, they were considered for DBS. These things have changed. Over a period of time, जब ये developments हो रही हैं और technologies change हो रही हैं, DBS is now being considered as an earlier therapy. और जिस तरह Dr. Talha ने mention किया in one of his slides, that it has been observed that the earlier institution of deep brain stimulation in patients has better motor benefits compared to those patients जिनको हम DBS later on in advanced disease डालते हैं. But yes, this is true that DBS comes without all the side effects of medication or being an expensive option in a place like our country. DBS is considered for those patients who fail all the medical treatment. Dr. Talha's presentation made there was this introductory slide about functional neurosurgery, in which Dr. Talha mentioned that we are operating on brain for functional reasons. Us neurosurgeons, we are so attuned to be operating on patients who are anatomically not well, जिनके brains में, जिनकी spines में कोई ना कोई physical lesions हैं. Functional neurosurgery is a total exception. Functional neurosurgery में we operate on an anatomically normal looking brain. That's why we do not have any visible pathology. That's why we do not have any visible landmark within the brain जिसको हम target करते हैं for surgery. Or DBS, other than the fact that this is a simple burr hole and stereotactic technique से हम लोग lead implant कर देते हैं, but although we are all using stereotactic surgery for things like biopsies and drainage of aspiration and drainage of cystic lesions, but still DBS procedure हर जगह पे इसलिए नहीं हो सकता because DBS involves intraoperative targeting of the place where we want to go. और वो जो intraoperative targeting है, that is done by microelectrode recording. वो जो microelectrode recording है, that's a cumbersome, time-consuming, precise part of the procedure in which you have actually to record electrical impulses all along your track when you're advancing the electrode into the brain and identify the typical signature electrical activity of the target jahan pe hum jana cha rahe hain. And it is mostly, in most cases, done by neurologists, well-trained neurophysicians like Dr. Sidra, who has done a fellowship in movement disorders. जो microelectrode recording है, it is mandatory for a neurosurgeon to have a neurophysician present in surgery, in the OR during microelectrode recording, because it is the neurophysicians who continuously, आपने videos में भी देखा, who continuously keep on examining the patient and determining whether we are at the right location or not. But that's just one role of the neurophysician in the OR. दूसरा important role है कि microelectrode recordings are usually not done by neurosurgeons. They are done by trained neurophysicians or neuroelectrophysiologists. Lesioning जहाँ पे एक obsolete तरीका consider होता था treatment का for diseases like Parkinson's, lesioning is still a very valid mode of treatment for places like Pakistan. वजह ये है that the deep brain stimulation, just the fact that the deep brain stimulation implant costs a huge amount of money, so हर बंदा afford नहीं कर सकता. Last implant जब हम लोगों ने किया है तो we calculated on an average 47 lakh rupees DBS implant and the disposables मिला के patient का expense है other than the expense of surgery. That's a huge amount and everybody can't afford. So lesioning, although it has its downside, but lesioning is still a valid mode of treatment for things like Parkinson's and other degenerative disorders. Microelectrode recording के ऊपर मैं जितना मर्जी emphasize करूँ, it's little because we do not have trained people doing microelectrode recording in Pakistan. And उसके लिए I am very happy to know कि आप लोगों के इंस्टीट्यूशन से लोग बाकायदा फेलोशिप्स के लिए जा रहे हैं, ट्रेनिंग्स के लिए जा रहे हैं, people like Dr. Sidra. I would very earnestly motivate neurophysicians to go and take up microelectrode recording as a specialty जिसके अंदर वो specially जाके train. And because Pakistan में there is a serious dearth of people जो microelectrode recording या intraoperative neurophysiological monitoring किसी भी procedure के लिए कर सकते हैं. And what better person there is to do it than a neurophysician जो basic neurophysiology समझता है. I'm very happy. Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be a part of your academy. Thank you very much.
Sir, I just want to ask that is there any durability regarding the neurostimulator which we put in the patient? For how long does it work? Like we have to change it for about 10 or 13, 15 years, or it works for a lifelong period?
It all depends on what kind of neurostimulation we put in. The neurostimulators basically have a life, और वो life basically सिर्फ उनकी बैटरी की वजह से है, because they are electrical stimulators और उनकी एक अपनी बैटरी की life है. So there are some stimulators that last for 3 to 5 years. There are some stimulators that may actually last for up to 7 years. It also depends on the stimulation parameters. अगर हमें higher currents की ज़रूरत है तो वो उसकी बैटरी जल्दी डिप्लीट हो जाती है. Actually जो last बैटरी हमने replace की थी was done at your institution in association with Dr. Ateek.
Yes,
so
I
battery
remember that.
replacements की ज़रूरत बैटरी रिप्लेसमेंट की हमें ज़रूरत पड़ती है, and that depends on the type of stimulator that you put in. और इसके अलावा आजकल नई बैटरीज हैं जो रिचार्जेबल हैं. रिचार्जेबल बैटरीज में भी क्योंकि वो टोटली इम्प्लांटेड है, तो जिस तरह टेलीफोन का वायरलेस चार्जर्स अवेलेबल हैं उसी तरह देयर आर charging systems available to charge the battery of TBS implant. लेकिन उसके बावजूद उन बैटरीज की भी अपनी लाइफ है, and they invariably deplete after about 10 to 12 years. So yes, there is a life of every battery, and you have to replace it after a certain amount of time, and that has to be mentioned at the time of surgery for the patient, to the patient, and discussed with the patient. क्योंकि जब बैटरी रिप्लेसमेंट होगी, biggest cost DBS surgery की बैटरी ही है. So the patient will have to spend another amount of money for replacement battery after a certain amount of time.
Thank you so much. If anyone from the audience would like to ask any question from sir. Dr. Osama, you had a question, I think. So, okay.
Beta, can you speak louder, please?
And sir, we are moving to the question answer session, and before that, I would like to invite Professor Atiq Ahmed Khan on stage. Sir, please. Professor, Associate Professor Dr. Asim Rahmani, Dr. Faik, and Madam Sumaira.
Nasir, I'm really happy. Can you hear me, Nasir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Nasir, I'm really happy to see you again, and I just wanted to see you again and again, and I love to have you here with us because this is really one thing which we are lacking. And I think because you know that I worked with Professor Juma, and he is very fond of doing these functional neurosurgical procedures. Specifically, if we talk about the Parkinsonism disease, PD disease, so we used to select the patient for thalamotomy, and still if we can continue with this thalamotomy, we have to have a good selection of a patient because this hemi-Parkinsonism patient with hemi-Parkinsonism, they actually they do very good if you do a thalamotomy. And it's a learning curve when you do thalamotomies. Sometimes in Pakistan in early days, Professor Tariq Salahuddin used to do with that one, if you remember. But later on with this learning curve, we reached to certain extent that because they were ablating the brain, creating the lesion with the egg yolk, where the egg yolk burns. So I think that was a later on when I discussed with these guys, they actually come up with the troubleshooting that the lesion was become so big, and then patient became hemiplegic, or they did not well. But with Professor Juma, he is very keen and very knowledgeable person, so he has different theories, and he used to burn with the proper ablator, and that is for designed for the brain, and you have to have that to avoid that. But despite of that, I have seen a lot of chronic subdurals later on, and so forth. So that's I think that's very important to actually you have to have that thing, because there are a lot of patients with non-affordabilities and they need a thalamotomy. And once you get thalamotomy, then you can go to periodontmy and other procedures as well. So I think let's walk before we run. And but still, the DBS is fascinating. And the video that these guys have seen this video first time, but I have seen that actually doing patients lesioning in my OR in a local anesthesia. Really, it's like the same as you do with the DBS. So there you go. If you wanted to comment anything, I really appreciate this.
I have a question from Dr. Sumaira. Is there any specific time period to be able to have a wearing off phenomenon which occurs after tapering off the dosage of anti-Parkinsonism medication?
Okay, so before going into detail, first of all, we should look into the natural history of Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disorder. No matter what medical or surgical treatment you give, the disease will progress on its own pace. So what we do initially, there is a period of 4 to 6 years in which the patient responds to treatment very well, and the dyskinesias or motor fluctuations develop after that, after 4 to 5 years of time. उसके बाद पेशेंट को सारी कॉम्प्लिकेशंस डेवलप होती हैं. वी कैन नॉट से कि व्हाट इज़ द एग्जैक्ट पीरियड जिसके बाद उसको वेयरिंग ऑफ आएगा क्या होगा, लेकिन जनरली आफ्टर जो पेशेंट गुड रिस्पॉन्डर होते हैं टू लीवोडोपा, फॉर 5 years they respond very well to levodopa. On levodopa, after that patient may develop these motor fluctuations. इसमें wearing, there are different type of fluctuations or these drug unresponsiveness you can say. तो उसमें क्या होता है कि अक्सर पेशेंट्स को वेयरिंग ऑफ होने लगती है. जो आप लीवोडोपा की डोज देते हैं, द सिमिलर डोज जिस पे पेशेंट पहले बहुत अच्छा रिस्पॉन्ड करता था, अब वो उसके ऊपर रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं कर रहा होता है या उसका इफेक्ट जल्दी ख़त्म होने लगता है. तो ये आपकी, आप कहते हैं कि वेयरिंग ऑफ हो रही है डिजीज़. इसके अलावा देयर आर डिस्काइनेसियाज, कुछ पीक डोज डिस्काइनेसियाज होते हैं, कुछ ऑफ डिस्काइनेसियाज होते हैं. तो ये सारी चीज़ें डेवलप होती हैं आफ्टर फ्यू ईयर्स. और वो भी बेसिकली उसके अंडरलाइन मैकेनिज्म क्या है कि द नेचुरल हिस्ट्री ऑफ डिजीज़, वो बिकॉज द डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द न्यूरॉन्स विच प्रोड्यूस डोपामीन, वो तो ऑन गोइंग चल रही है ना, एज बिकॉज इट्स अ न्यूरो डिजेनरेटिव डिजीज़. तो द सेम डोज ऑफ लीवोडोपा जो पहले उसके लिए काम करी थी, नाउ इट बिकम इनसफिशिएंट. तो आफ्टर दैट दीज काइंड ऑफ मोटर फ्लक्चुएशंस और डिस्काइनेसियाज डेवलप, एंड दिस इज़ द टाइम व्हेन वी रिक्वायर some surgical procedure like DBS. Although in our system it's very difficult for every patient to get this type of surgery, lekin still we can identify patient or the difficult patients which are unmanageable on further disease doses modification or by the addition of some other drugs, because we have multiple drugs. जैसे सिद्रा ने बताया कि हम step by step, जैसे डॉक्टर नासिर ने कहा कि देयर आर स्टडीज़ जिसमें हम अर्ली DBS भी विद मेडिकल एंड सर्जिकल थेरेपी वी कैन बेनिफिट द पेशेंट मोर, अगर हम अर्ली इंट्रोडक्शन भी करें सर्जरी का. लेकिन हम अपने सेटअप में ऑब्वियसली हमारे लिए पॉसिबल नहीं होता, तो हम उसको एक वो रिजॉर्ट रखते हैं जहाँ जब ट्रीटमेंट हमारे पास बिल्कुल फेल हो जाती है, तो वहाँ पे फिर हम इन सर्जिकल ट्रीटमेंट मोडेलिटीज़ की तरफ जाते हैं. अदरवाइज देयर आर डिफरेंट स्टडीज़ जिसमें अगर आप जितने जल्दी, फॉर एग्जांपल STN DBS की सर्जरी है, उसके साथ अलॉन्ग विद मेडिकेशन अगर आप यूज़ करें तो उसका बेनिफिट हमारे पास अच्छा होता है.
I have a question. Regarding after either DBS or lesioning, what is the natural course of the disease? Like, will the patient require more and more current if we put in a DBS stimulator later on in life? And what about lesioning? After how many years does after that the symptoms recur or recurrence can occur?
हाँ, ये इसका जवाब डॉक्टर नासिर ज़्यादा बेटर दे सकते हैं.
You need to answer this question. This is particularly for you guys. You have got an immense amount of experience regarding DBS.
But this is an extremely interesting question और बड़ा valid point है. बेटा, DBS or lesioning does not alter the course of the disease. The course of disease is that it's a progressive illness. Neurons are going to die, and the extrapyramidal circuits are going to become deficient over a period of time. So yes, with DBS we do need to readjust the currents after every 6 months to a year, so to get the same effect which we were getting with lower currents initially. जिस तरह मेडिकेशन में भी हमें आहिस्ता आहिस्ता मेडिकेशन इंक्रीज करनी पड़ती है, उसी तरह इसकी करंट्स भी इंक्रीज करनी पड़ती है. रिगार्डिंग लीजनिंग, यस, लीजनिंग में चूंकि हम बैलेंस रिस्टोर करने के लिए वी लीजन दी ओवर एक्टिव एरियाज जो ऑलरेडी अंडर एक्टिव एरियाज हैं, उनके साथ जो एरियाज सर्वाइव कर जाते हैं, जिन्होंने एक नेट बैलेंस रखना है, वो ओवर एक्टिव, एक्चुअली रिलेटिवली ओवर एक्टिव हो जाते हैं. उनको चूंकि हम लीजन कर रहे हैं तो उसका इफेक्ट इज अ लिटिल लॉन्गर लास्टिंग देन जस्ट ट्यूनिंग इन द DBS, बट लाइक यू कैन एक्सपेक्ट, चूंकि ये प्रोग्रेसिव डिजीज है, इट्स नो प्रोसीजर कैन ऑल्टर द कोर्स ऑफ द डिजीज इटसेल्फ, इसलिए लीजनिंग का भी बेनिफिट आफ्टर अ सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम आहिस्ता आहिस्ता कम होता जाता है. एंड जिस तरह डॉक्टर सिद्रा ने कहा कि each person's response is individual, so it's really not very easy to predict कि कौन सा patient किस वक्त जाके लीजनिंग के बाद अगेन सिम्टोमेटिक हो जाएगा. बट करंट्स हमें डेफिनेटली इंक्रीज करनी पड़ती हैं इन केस ऑफ DBS. So DBS is controlling the symptoms of the disease like medication, but DBS is not altering the course of the disease itself.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Nasir. I have a question. What do you think? What is the future of these kind of degenerative motor disorders? Like I've read about MRI guided focused ultrasonography. So, do you have any experience or exposure to this modality? And what do you think? What is the future? Invasive or non-invasive or minimally invasive?
Another very beautiful question. I do not have personal experience with focused ultrasound, but focused ultrasound, when I was doing my fellowship, Dr. Lozano was actually working on developing focused ultrasound. Like any other lesioning, focused ultrasound being lesion produced that. So it's a lesioning modality, or although it's non-invasive, so is stereotactic radiosurgery. अगर हम gamma knife use करके thalamotomy कर लेते हैं, so it produces the same effects compared to जो radio frequency lesioning हम करते हैं. And again, gamma knife is a non-invasive modality. So I think neurosurgeons के लिए lesion करना तो it's always easy. You just go in and cut, and that's what I've always been very disappointed about, that there is not much addition to the function that we can do as neurosurgeons as compared to the lesions we can produce, whether it is for tumor surgery or for ADM or anything else. So lesions जहाँ जहाँ benefit हो सकती हैं वहाँ पे तो focused ultrasound and things like stereotactic radiosurgery, gamma knife, cyber knife वो भी उतनी ही effective हो सकती हैं. So yes, things are moving towards non-invasive, but the role of DBS probably will only increase. DBS इसलिए मैं बार-बार emphasize करता हूँ क्योंकि the whole activity of the brain is electrical. So अभी हम सिर्फ बात कर रहे हैं movement disorders की, which are easier to target because we can see the effects easily, we can see the results easily, and we can also see the effects of the disease easily. वो movement को affect करते हैं और वो बड़े easily diagnosable हैं, but the whole brain is electrical. So अगर हमें बाकी diseases के भी mechanisms समझ आने शुरू हो जाएं, which needs a lot of understanding of the circuitry of the brain, so DBS can be applied to a huge number of things. China में DBS is being used for things like anorexia nervosa. China में DBS, there is an FDA approved target in America for insertion of DBS in area 25, subgenual cingulate area, for treating depression. So the more we understand about the circuitry of the brain, there are going to be more indications for insertion of deep brain stimulation. There are people I know of, Saudi Arabia, there is a doctor who did fellowship with me, Dr. Faisal Al-Utaibi. He has implanted up to 7 DBS implants in a single patient, targeting different areas. I know it is sounds very odd, but there are people doing these things. So DBS, I think, is here to stay, and DBS is दूसरा DBS की सबसे बड़ी advantage is the titratability, the reversibility of the effect. So DBS is a modality that's probably going to stay, in spite of the fact कि हमारे पास बहुत सारी non-invasive lesioning techniques are. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question. How much DBS is effective in alleviating one symptom than the other? The frequency of the symptom. What is your experience regarding the bradykinesia after doing the treatment with the DBS?
जी बेटा, again it all depends on what targets we select to stimulate. जो thalamic targets हैं, they are known to affect tremors very nicely. And tremors को control करने में thalamic targets, especially ventrolateral nucleus या VIM जिसको हम कहते हैं ventrosacral medius, वो बहुत effectively tremor को control कर देते हैं. But they do not have any effect on the rigidity or bradykinesia. So again, depending on what the patient has, what the patient's most troubling symptom is, you need to be very well aware of what target is going to benefit the patient and choose that target. इसी तरह subthalamic nucleus is known to affect almost all symptoms other than gait. जो हमारी gait problems हैं, freezing of gait है और fascination है और वो locking है, that does not address the gait problem, but to a large extent it takes care of the rigidity as well as tremor. और gait के लिए इसीलिए लोगों ने different targets strike किए हैं, which includes peduncle-pontine PPN जिसको कहते हैं peduncle-pontine nucleus, and with varying amounts of success, but PPN is one of the recognized targets for gait problem. So it all depends. It all depends on what target you select. It all depends on what the symptoms of the patient are. इसीलिए डॉक्टर अतीक साहब ने अभी जो बात की थी कि the first and probably the most important step in getting a good response to DBS surgery is proper selection of the patient. Or proper selection of the patient, proper selection of the target, proper selection of the techniques that we use. ये सारी चीजें जब तक नहीं होती, we do not get an appropriate response जिस तरह की हम expect कर रहे हैं.
Thank you, Nasir, and I will just conclude with the academic portion of this discussion by augmenting Dr. Sumaira's verdict about he has actually described this Parkinson's disease, the pathophysiology and the anatomy, because we all know that the neurotransmitter, that is dopamine, its deficiency in the basal ganglia is the reason. And the motor component of the basal ganglia, that is which is owing to that, putamen is the main culprit. So this neurodegeneration, you cannot stop that neurodegeneration. And this, the putamen, globus pallidus, and striatum substantia nigra has two parts, that is, one is radiata and the other is compacta. These all are the most important interconnected fibers and producing neurotransmitter and causing the disease, as Nasir has already highlighted, that these has to have a communication with each other, because once the degeneration is started, that keeps going on. And so when it keeps going on, the disease worsens with the period of time. So you can, delay the symptoms, but you cannot, treat it completely. And anatomically, topographically, you can see that there is nothing wrong with the brain, except there is some neurodegeneration process, and neurodegeneration specifically of the neurons in the putamen is occurring more fastly than the neurodegeneration of other neurons. So the STN and substantia nigra and all these interconnected fibers, they worsen and they burn out. And when they burn out with the period of time, so it's not going to be a single patient is started with a hemi-Parkinsonism, you treated well, and then the degeneration goes on and then involve all these systems, and then the patient begins to worsen. So you have to be very precise choosing the patient, because in early days, in my 90s, when I was doing my residency with Professor Juma, we have a functional neurosurgical clinic, and with Professor Shaukat, he was a very renowned neurologist. He used to select the patient, and he was the selection of the patient is the responsibility of a neurologist, and the surgical component is involved should be carried out by the neurosurgeon, definitely. So it has to be hand on hand with neurologist. It's not going to be the single one. So that's what I'm going to conclude with this, and I think it's over to you, Dr. Man. And I welcome Dr. Ali Muttaqi. He's a very good friend to us, and he's always very helpful, very kind, and he's here, so I'm really grateful that he's here, and just I want something that he should say that he has started some small academic activity. It should keep going on.
So we are welcoming our Dr. Professor Abdullah Muttaqi. He is a professor of general surgery in JMDC, and he is currently a counselor of CPSP as well. As you all know that this CME session has been organized by Pakistan Islamic Medical Association, who is currently busy in doing chain of CMEs in all different setups of Karachi. So I would like to ask Professor Abdullah Muttaqi to introduce you towards the PIMA, what exactly PIMA is doing in Pakistan or no. Thank you.